We are live now. We are getting ready to have a good live for you today. We are going to be talking about how to build wealth. We're going to simplify it down and bring it all the way down. We're live. Awesome. Great. So what I'm going to do is let a few people get in the room. But what I'm going to talk about on this live, and the reason you're going to want to hang around, is I'm going to talk about how to create wealth without using any of your own money, and talk about it in a simple way. It's going to sound too simple, but that usually means that it's the right answer. People overcomplicate things. You're going to be shocked at how simple creating wealth can actually be if you know the ABCs of it. More to come on that. Let me go through the agenda, and then we will get the ball rolling. What I'm going to do here briefly is I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to tell you why you should be here, give myself a little bit of a credibility as to why you should listen to what I'm saying. Just because I'm on your phone or your computer is not reason in itself to listen. But with what I'm getting ready to tell you, hopefully that will be. Then I'm going to talk about the market. The Fed just jumped up interest rates another 75 basis points. We'll talk about that. Then I'm going to explain how to create wealth and how to simply go from A to B to C, and wealth is created. And then we're going to do some Q&A actually sprinkled out throughout this whole thing. So let me know where you're from in the chat box if you have not. No matter what platform you're watching me on, make sure you're following me on that platform, whatever that would be. Make sure to double tap the screen, share this live, all that fun stuff to get this reach out to as many as possible. So what we're going to do is, looks like we have 2 people watching. So anyway, so that's what we're going to chat about on here is that. So let's get the ball rolling. So my name is Sam. I'm a real estate investor. I own a house buying a company that's going to flip about 300 houses this year. When I say flip, I mean buy and sell. So wholesaling about 200, 220 of them, and then flipping about 75 or 80. So we do this all day, every day in the house buying and selling space. On the real estate investing side, I also own a $42 million rental portfolio that I bought without using any of my own money. So that's a little bit about me. I do a lot of different types of investing, but the main thing I do and the main thing I want to talk about with you is real estate, because that's what I talk about. So that's a little bit about me. I appreciate you being here. I know you have choices that you can go follow other people or do other things, but the fact that you are here with me talking about real estate and wealth creation, so I appreciate you. So let me know where you're from in the chat box if you have not. Like this video. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on any other platform, hit that double tap, do all that fun stuff. So that is the intro about myself. I do know real estate, and I do know tips and tricks that most people don't, and I can easily and simply explain them to you. So make sure you're following me on all social media platforms, and DM me on Instagram. Throw your questions in the chat box, but DM me on Instagram as well. All right, a little bit about the market. The market just bumped up. It just went up literally right before I went live. I think it was about a little less than an hour ago. It went live that they announced it. It's another 75 basis points with an additional probably increase in December. The beginning of December is probably going to go up a little bit, but it sounds like maybe not 0.75 basis points. So what's happening with the market is all the analysts and the Fed and everything is looking at certain data points and analyzation points, and they're like, we have to get it slowed down. Right now, it's the market, is still doing this. It was doing this, and it's still going up. They want it to flatten out, and they are going to keep raising interest rates until it flattens out. But the market was so strong and is so strong that it hasn't flattened out yet, so they're going to continue to raise rates. Now, raised rates are just a temporary thing. We'll talk a little bit about that in the wealth section, but it's nothing to freak out about. It's a short-term deal. They're going to flatten or go down next year, so still buy real estate, still invest. If it's a little bit tighter or the deals don't make quite as much sense now, don't worry about it. You can always refinance. That's a beautiful thing about real estate investing, because if you lock them in 2-3 years ago, every 3 to 5 years, you're going to have to re-up them anyway. So don't get caught up on the interest rates. So that's a little bit about the market. The market is strong. Let me know what you think the market is doing in the chat box if you have not. Give this video a like if you have not. Let me know there what you think the market's going to do. All right, for the meat and potatoes of this, let's talk about how to create wealth the simple way. Ready? Clear strokes. Here we go. So we're going to talk about how to create wealth. Creating wealth is literally as simple as A, B, C. All right? A stands for asset. B stands for borrow, and C stands for cash flow. That is all you need to create wealth. You need an asset, you need to borrow money, and you need cash flow. That's it. ABC, super simple. As I said, it almost sounds too good to be true, but it's not. It is, the reason it works is because it's so simple. So let's break that down and explain a little bit more, but basically you are borrowing money to buy an asset that produces cash. You take the cash that is produced to pay back whoever you borrowed the money from. It's very simple, and when I put it in a little bit different of a diagram, I will explain it. Then I'm also going to explain how Elon Musk utilized this exact ABC method to buy Twitter, and how Jeff Bezos utilized this exact ABC method to start Amazon, and how Mark Zuckerberg utilized this exact ABC method to start and create and grow Facebook. Now, obviously, there's nuances, there's ins, there's outs, there's all those things. However, at a simplified base foundational level, this is how wealth is created. We're probably not smart enough, me and you are not probably smart enough to start Amazon or Facebook. However, every single person watching this has the ability and the wherewithal to do this in the real estate space. So that's why I focus on it. 90% of millionaires are made through real estate. So let's take wealth building strategies that billionaires use, and let's bring it down to the real estate level. Give this video a like if you haven't. Let me know where you're from in the chat box, and start to fill up that chat box with questions. I am going to answer questions periodically, and especially at the end. So make sure you're here and you are ready. All right, so let's go through that ABC thing. Again, what you do is you borrow money to buy an asset that produces cash. So let's just keep it simple, and then let's throw in Amazon and Facebook, and then we'll get to real estate here momentarily. So simple. What you do is you borrow money to buy an asset. All right? You're borrowing somebody else's money to buy an asset. You take the cash flow that that asset produces, and you pay off the person you borrowed the money from. It's that simple. You need money to create wealth, but most wealthy people don't utilize their own money. In fact, I don't know any really wealthy people that utilize their own money, because if you have money, then you're already wealthy. You don't need to grow it and create it. You're inheriting it. Very, very few people inherit wealth. I think, look it up, over 85, 90% of millionaires are self-made, and they utilize it this way, and billionaires utilize it this way. So borrow money to buy an asset that produces cash, and use the cash it produces to pay back whoever you borrowed the money from. There's a fun triangle. Now, let's do it with Facebook. Look at that. Triangle. All right, let's do it with Facebook, all right? So let's talk about how Facebook was started. I think hopefully maybe y'all saw the Social Network movie, or saw, or did what I did, watch Social Network, how Facebook started, loved that movie, and then did some research on it. So this is what happened. Again, there's a little more complexity to it, but at a base level, this is what happened. Mark Zuckerberg, this is how he started Facebook. He borrowed money from a guy named Peter Thiel. He was the first angel investor. He gave Mark $500,000 to grow Facebook, create code, hire what's even the word, code makers, whatever, to hire people, to programmers to write the code and create Facebook and to grow Facebook. So in this instance, he gave Peter Thiel some ownership as well as cash flow, but let's not overcomplicate things. So what Mark Zuckerberg did was he borrowed money from Peter Thiel to grow Facebook. Facebook was already a thing. It was something that was growing in popularity, but it needed an influx of cash. So he borrowed money to create and grow Facebook. Guess what Facebook did? It made money on ads, and he took the money on ads to pay back Peter Thiel. Now again, this had a little more complications because there's ownership as part of it, but on a simple foundational level, he borrowed money to buy or create or grow an asset. Then he took the cash flow that that asset produced, as in Facebook terms was ad revenue, and he paid back who he borrowed the money from. So that's starting to make a little bit of sense. Borrow money to buy an asset, take the cash that asset produces, and pay back who you borrowed the money from. It's so simple, it's stupid, but then that makes it super smart. Now let's do the same thing with Amazon, and then let's relate it to real estate. So Amazon. We'll even do their little A to Z slogan, which is super smart. So Amazon. So what Amazon did was Amazon borrowed money to buy books. And they bought books with it. They, bought and leased logistics centers. They bought trucking companies, leased trucking companies. For 7 years, all Bezos did was sell books. and he knew that it was going to grow to something more than that. That's why Amazon has been valued as a multi-million and billion-dollar company from the beginning. So he started out with the books. For 7 years, that was it, because books at the time, what's that smell? It smells like either something burning or maybe some food. It smells good, though. Chipotle? Okay. So what you do is you borrow, what he did was he borrowed money to grow and create. You can look it up. There's famous articles out there about him trying to get money from his relatives and siblings, and people ended up eventually giving him money. So what he did was he borrowed money to create Amazon, which was a bookstore, a virtual bookstore. And then he took the money that was created from that bookstore, from that website, some of those valuations, and he paid back the people he borrowed the money from. It's a simple triangle, people. That's all wealth building is. People just don't have the knowledge or the stones to do it, or they're just not really understanding it, but that's all wealth creation is. And if you think that's wrong, well, then you are inaccurate in that assumption. That's as simple as it gets. You borrow money to buy an asset that produces cash and grows in value, and you take the cash that that asset produces and you pay off whoever you borrowed the money from. So that's how it works with real estate. That's how it works with creating wealth. Now, I am not smart enough to start an online business. I'm not smart enough to buy books or create Amazon or Tesla or Facebook or any of these things, but I want that wealth too. And pretty much everybody watching this probably wants that wealth and may or may not be smart enough to create an app. So if you're just like most people, you work hard, you want to create financial freedom, you don't exactly know how to do it, but you're willing to put in some time and effort to do it. Because if you just take a quick break and think you're going to work for somebody else for the next 30, 40, 50 years to create wealth for them, let's hack the system. Let's do a few things over the next couple years to completely reverse it and create wealth for yourself, so then you can choose to retire or whatever you want when you want. You're taking control of your life and control of your future. So, what, you got a question?
Yep.
All right, what's the question we got?
First question.
Felix,
why do you need other people's money if ultimately it costs you money? Why not just buy it and not have to pay the investor interest?
It's a great question, Felix. Well, most people don't have money. The average American has less than $10,000 in their bank account. So if you're an average American and you want to create wealth and you don't come from money, the only way to do it is to borrow money. Felix's question, I don't know if you heard Dakota say it, was, why do you need the other investor? Why don't you use your own money? Because you don't have enough money. Americans do not have enough money to do this. I'm going to go over some examples in real estate here in a minute. It's a great question. You don't have it. Why don't you go buy a $5 million boat? Yacht, I guess, if it's that expensive, because you don't have $5 million. So you don't have the money, people don't have the money, so you have to use this simple ABC system to conjure that money and create that money. I think I did the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, but you have to create that money by utilizing this ABC program that everybody uses, that I've used to buy $42 million worth of real estate without using any of my own money. If I use my own money to buy real estate, I'd probably own about $1 million or $2 million worth of real estate. But the fact that I'm using other people's money, I'm able to get $42 million worth. Make sure to give this video a like on whatever platform you're watching. All right, great question. So let's talk about it as far as it goes, as it pertains to real estate. So what you do is you borrow money to buy an asset, real estate, and then you're going to borrow, or let me start that over. Let's get the strokes cleared. That's what she said. All right, so what you do is you borrow money to buy an asset. In this case, let's do real estate because everybody needs a house, everybody needs to live somewhere. So you borrow money to buy real estate, and then you get that real estate rented, and then that real estate produces cash from the tenant. That is a very wonky tenant, but you get it. And then you take the cash that that tenant pays you and use it to pay back whoever you borrowed the money from. Now, again, like everything else I'm telling you, there's more nuance to it. But for now, you're borrowing money to buy an asset that produces cash. You take the cash it produces and you pay it off whoever you borrowed the money from. This can be anything. This can be Amazon. This can be Facebook. This can be a business. But let's do it with real estate because that's super simple and super easy. So I'm going to break this down to a different level, but that is what it looks like. We got another question?
Got a question from Lucas here. He said, I bought a house to rehab it. Now I want to keep it as a rental property. What is best, to get a line of credit or a mortgage, or what is the best way to go about it?
The best way to go about it would be, assuming you bought it and already fixed it up, the best thing to do would be able to do a cash out refinance. We're going to cover it here in a second, but to answer your question directly is you go to a small local bank and they'll give you an 80% loan on the value of the property. So if that property is worth $100,000, they will write you a check for 80% of that, or they'll write you a check for $80K. Now, you have that, I guess if you bought it with your own money, but if you borrowed money, then that $80K will pay back you borrowed the money from. If you use your own money, you can pull out a home equity line of credit on that and just utilize that to grow. But let's talk about this method that I talk about all the time, which is putting that ABC plan into implementation in real estate. So it is the BRRRR method. Who has heard of the BRRRR method? Thumbs up or raise your hand if you've heard the BRRRR. Jaden, have you heard of the BRRRR method? Mm-hmm. What does it stand for?
Buy, rehab, rent, refinance.
He's got a mouthful of food. It stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. This is that ABC method, but I changed the letters around a little bit to make it make sense. So let's talk about how I've been able to buy $42 million worth of real estate without using any of my own money, and how you can do the same thing. Anybody on here can do this. Will you start out exactly here? No. But you can start out, if your credit score, you need like mid 600. So if your credit score is a little bit lower, wholesale, do some things, raise your credit. If you have some experience, great. If you don't, that's fine. You don't need any experience. I had zero experience. My first several properties were rental properties in the BRRRR deals. So thank you for being here. You don't need experience though. So I appreciate everyone for being here. Hopefully you've given this video a like and shared it and all those fun things. Let's get into the BRRRR method. What's going on, Cheryl? 2 boxes, thank you for those. So it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. And again, this is the method that I've used to buy $42 million worth of real estate without using any of my own money. So here we go, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. It all starts out with a distressed property, as I stated earlier. So what you do is you borrow money from a private lender. DM me on Instagram if you want my private lender training. But it starts out with a private lender. So what you do is you borrow money to buy and fix up a distressed property. For simple math, let's say this property you can buy for $100,000 and it needs $50,000 worth of work. So you need $150,000 to buy and fix up said distressed property. Your private lender, unless you have $150,000, you can be your own bank, but most people don't. You borrow money from a private lender, a hard money lender, lots of different sources. You borrow $150,000. You buy the house and then you fix it up. You make it a nice property that is ready to rent. Now you still owe whoever you borrowed the money from their $150,000. You owe them that, but you are about to get them their money back. But there's one step before you do that, and is get the property rented. You get the property rented and you start to produce cash. If you paid attention earlier, you borrow money to buy an asset that produces cash and grows in value. You got the cash producing with the rent and you grew it in value by rehabbing it. So now that you have an asset that is producing cash and growing in value, this is where you do the fancy footwork and kind of move some money around without using any of yours in your favor. This is the refinance step. Up to this point, we have a property that's fixed up, that's rented. You still owe your private lender, hard money lender, whoever it is, $150,000. Now, you will get a loan for 80% of the appraised value. This property appraised for $200,000. That's what it appraised for, all right? So you get a loan for 80% of that. So you get a loan for $160,000. Now, what do you think you do with that loan? You see some numbers that are pretty close. You take that $160,000 and you pay back your private lender. Now, it's probably not going to require $10,000 of interest, but for simple math, let's just say it does. So your private lender wrote you a check for $150,000. You bought a property, fix it up, 90 days, 120 days later, whatever it is, you write him a check back for $160,000, so he or she made $10,000 without doing anything. $10,000 for writing you a check and got a check back. So they're paid off. They're happy now. There's a smiley face. So they're paid off. They're happy. The first 2 steps are done with. You bought and fixed up a house with somebody else's money, they're paid back. Now, you do owe the bank $160,000, okay? You owe them $160,000. But you owe them that in the form of a mortgage at a small monthly payment, even with the higher interest rates that we're all getting right now. So what you do is you end up taking that rent and you take a portion of it and you pay off the mortgage every single month. You take a portion of it and you pay off the taxes. You take a portion, you pay insurance. You take all of that rent and you pay off all your owning expenses. Then if you ran your numbers properly, there should be $200 to $400 a month left over so that you're positively cash flowing a little bit, but it adds up over time. The main thing that happens is you are creating wealth. You don't get wealthy from cash flow, you get wealthy from equity. Got a question?
Yeah, I got a question from Jackson Murphy on YouTube. He wants to know about the Corp membership and what that is and what it entails.
Hey, what's the Corp mentorship? Awesome. Yes, so Jackson, so all the stuff I explain, I have thousands of hours of free content on social media. You can learn so much from all the free stuff I put out there. But naturally, I have a mentorship for those that want more. So if you're interested in the mentorship, what you get for the mentorship is you get 5 weekly coaching calls. You get over 350 videos that I recorded that walk you through the process. You get all the resources that we use to buy 300 houses a year and to build a $42 million rental portfolio. You get access to a closed Facebook group that has members that have over $175 million in real estate and almost 1,000 doors owned. So you get all that and you get lifetime access. Basically, you get this wealth creation thing and all the stuff I'm talking about, but you get it streamlined and processed, and it creates wealth efficiently. So if you want to become a multimillionaire quickly, the best way to do it is to get some guidance, which we'll get to in the scale method, and my mentorship, I believe, is the best one out there. Now, for those of you that are throwing their hands up saying, oh my gosh, of course he's selling, of course I am. I give away more free information than anybody, but for those that want that next level, I have a mentorship, because I don't know one successful person that doesn't have some type of coaching that they subscribe to, some type of mastermind they're in. Wealthy people understand that if I can buy time and buy knowledge, that's going to create wealth for me in the long term. So the fact that you and whoever's watching this is probably not super wealthy, part of why you're not is because you're not paying for help. I don't make the rules, I just follow them. So I spend $100,000 a year on coaching and mentorships and things like that for my personal and business growth. So if you're interested in the mentorship, go to freerentalwebinar.com. It should be in either whatever bio you're watching or in the description on YouTube, or just DM me on Instagram. I'll send you the link. All right, so thank you. Great question on that. That is the next level to create wealth is getting involved in some type of coaching. All right, and this last step, because doing it one time is great, but the last step is scaling. And again, we're talking about creating wealth without using any of your own money. Scaling is a great way to do that. And the only way that I know how to do this at a high level, assuming you want to buy more than one house, I created a system around scaling. How do I know that my scaling system works? Well, I own $42 million worth of real estate, and about 25 million of that has been bought in the past 18 months. I also have 2 million followers on social media that I've done in the last 2 years. I also, 2 or 3 years ago, my house buying company was buying about 120 houses a year. Now it's buying 300 houses a year. So this system works. It works in social media, it works in real estate, it works in any e-com, it works in whatever business you're in, and I would suggest real estate being a main one. This is a way to scale. So let's talk about how to scale here right now, because this kind of is pretty important. It is scaling. Now I created an acronym for it, just like the BRRRR acronym. The BRRRR used to be buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. I changed it to buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. And Bigger Pockets, those guys are pretty big into the BRRRR method. I actually was on Bigger Pockets and I talked about this scale system. It was pretty cool, and it was pretty powerful that they wanted me to go on and just talk about scaling. So this is how you scale. Let me walk you through each step. I'll briefly describe it, and this is what you do. So the first thing you do, no matter what business you're in, but I'm going to relate everything to real estate, is you have to create systems. For me, it's the least fun part. It's not the most exciting thing to create systems, but you have to create systems if you want to create efficiencies. It only makes sense. If you want to rehab 10 houses next year, and you did one this year, you have to create systems around rehabbing. You have to know where to find the materials. You have to have contacts with labor. You have to have a streamlined, scope of work process. You have to be able to communicate with your contractors. If you want to grow, you have to create systems so that you can grow and build that foundation. Another question?
Yeah, I got Igio Heavy with the Bored Ape NFT. He says, I don't understand the process between rent and scale. So that refi.
That refinance process out. When I'm done with scale, I'll get into that, but refinance, basically, you're taking out a mortgage or a loan on the rental property to pay off. You're basically taking out an extra loan to pay off your first loan. Your first loan is a short-term loan at a high interest rate to a local hard money lender, national hard money lender, private lender, whatever it is. You're taking out a initial loan to buy and fix up the property. Now, you can't go straight to the banks because they won't lend on distressed property. So what you do is you take out an initial loan to buy it and fix it up. Then you take out a new loan to pay off the initial loan, but this new loan is a mortgage, so you're able to pay it off over 25, 30 years, whatever it is. You're able to pay it off over a long period of time that allows you to cash flow, and then eventually it's paid off in your cash flow along the way. So we can talk a little bit more about refinancing, but for now, let's finish the scale part. All right, so creating systems allows you to scale when it comes to bringing tenants, rehabbing, buying houses. If you want to do more of them, create systems. The second thing you need to do is you need to get involved in some type of coaching. I mentioned my mentorship. It's the best thing out there, literally $175 million worth of real estate owned in the mentorship. But if you're not going to do that, that's fine. I don't care. We'll do all right with nobody watching this signing up. I'll be just fine. However, you do need to get some type of coaching. You cannot do this on your own. If you're one of those people that thinks I'm just going to figure it out on my own, you're not going to figure it out because you haven't figured it out yet. And I'm just assuming there's not anybody on here worth 100 million, 50 million watching. If you want to get to that point, you have to get involved in some type of coaching. As I said earlier, I spend $100,000 a year on improving myself and my business, and I get 10 times that back. Most good coaching or mentorship or masterminds, you do. So if you think you can do it on your own, but you're not where you want to be in life, there's probably your biggest hurdle that you need to mentally get over. Paying for somebody else's knowledge is the best thing you can spend your money on. I think everybody on social media respects the hell out of Alex Hormozy. I've seen him say if he made $75,000 a year, he would spend $75,000 on coaching. Same thing with me. Again, doesn't have to be my deal, but if you want to get better, you have to pay for other people's knowledge. The third one, and the most fun thing that you're going to learn the most from, is taking action. Go out there and do it. You can learn so much from coaches and my mentorship and all these things, but you're going to learn 80% on the job. 20% is what you're going to learn through books and through watching and learning and understanding, but 80% of it's going to be on the job. This is where you're going to fail, but fail forward. The third one is lead flow. You have to increase your leads. It's simple math. If you want to buy 10 houses, next year you're going to have to look at 100. So do things like paying for marketing and making connections to increase your lead flow. And last but not least, we'll get to some more questions, is extra funding. You need multiple hard money lenders, multiple private money lenders. If you're in another industry, you need multiple banks. You just need multiple funding sources, so funding is not an issue why you can't grow. Do that, borrow money to buy an asset, produces cash and grows in value. You need multiple funding sources to do that. So that is how you scale. It works in any industry, and I have proven it in social media and real estate up to this point. We're going to prove it in other industries. What other questions we got?
Cool. So I got Kaz. She asked 2 questions on YouTube. She says, where do you document your systems and processes, and do you offer video courses as well?
Yeah, so I document everything we have it all. Like I said, the mentorship that I have is 350 videos that document every single step of the way. It's literally like 350 5 to 10 minute videos that walk you through every single step. It's all categorized. If you want to know about how to buy houses, there's 30 videos on that. If you want to know how to approve good tenants, there's 20 videos on that. If you want to know how to rehab properly, there's a rehab calculator and 40 videos on that. So it's all in there. It's all there. It is all on video format, and then you get the live coaching calls as well. So yes, just DM me on Instagram if you have questions on that, or just go to FasterFreedom.com.
I got ilay.hnn on TikTok. He said, how can you promise your rental money will completely pay off your loan? And how do you run numbers if you don't know the future of the market?
Well, all right, so that's a good question. Let's get that here. So basically he's asking about cash flow. You want to make sure you cash flow. And the cash flow formula is super simple. I'll just kind of briefly go over it. So if you want to make sure your cash flow, you take your rent minus expenses. And every single thing you should know before you even pull the trigger on the purchase. So your rent, you can easily get rent by finding houses that are for rent in the area. If the house you're looking at purchasing is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot house, look at what 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot houses are renting for in the area. And rent is going up like crazy, so it's always going to go up. I think rent, it's maybe will flatten out eventually, but rent's gone up every single year since 1900 except one. So your rent is going to be what your market rent's going to be. So you rent then minus all your expenses. There's 6 expenses, and every single one of them can be known before you purchase. The first main expense is going to be your mortgage. You're going to know how much you're going to buy the property, how much it needs when you're running your analysis. So you should be able to say, here's how much my mortgage is going to be, take what I'm going to have in it, times your interest rate, and that's what your mortgage is going to be. Insurance. It's something that you can get quotes on, talk to other real estate investors and insurance brokers and get quotes on rental insurance. Then you can get real estate taxes. You can find those on Zillow, actually. They're pretty accurate there. You can go to your local county or city tax records and find what the taxes are going to be at the end of the year on the real estate property taxes. Then maintenance. I put $150 a month aside for maintenance. You can do more or less, whatever you want to do, but that's what you put aside. Vacancy. I put 5% of gross rent. That's, for when the property's not occupied. Every 2 or 3 years our tenants move out. We're not collecting rent for 30, 60 days, so we accrue for that with our vacancy every single month while it's rented. And then the last is property management. Most people charge 10% or less, or you can do it yourself. So some of these you might do yourself, but basically you take your rent minus all these expenses, and then you're going to know if you're going to cash flow or not. So it's a known number. It takes some nuance and to learn these, but that's how you do it. What do we got?
Cool. I got another one here from TikTok. User 757. Can you do the BRRRR method if the property doesn't need to be rehabbed?
You can do the BRRRR method if the property doesn't need to be rehabbed. Let me show you. So let's say you have the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. So let's say you can buy that property, that property we talked about earlier, for 150 grand. Then you don't rehab it, you get it rented. Now you have to make sure the property appraises for 190 to 200. But let's do that. We were doing earlier 80%, 160. So you're borrowing 150. As long as you're buying it at enough of a deal. I guess simply put, yes, you can, but you have to buy it at a deep enough discount that you can still, have at least 20% equity or at least 80% equity in there, so you can pay off the person you borrowed the money from. Cool. What else we got?
I got another one here on Instagram. Why don't you use your own money? You're giving away money on the cash out refinance. Why not just keep it internal?
Because I don't have enough money. I do well for myself, but I bought 55 rental houses this year. Let's do some quick math on that. I bought 55 rental houses this year. So I bought 55 rental houses. Let's just keep it simple. I bought 50 rental houses. The average rental house has a value of $200,000. So what is that? That's $10 million in single-family rental properties I bought this year. I would need, assuming that they don't need any work, I just put 20% down, I would need $2 million in cash to put down on those properties. That would mean any money I make and anything I do is all going towards these rental properties, and then it's gone, and then I, not cash flowing anymore because I'm still having an $8 million loan. So I did this without using any of my own money with the BRRRR method, and I have an $8 million loan on the $10 million properties. I created that with the BRRRR method, that equity that's needed. I can use cash for it, but then my cash is gone and I can't do other things with that cash. So simply put, most people don't make enough money to put 20% down and grow and scale.
Kaz wants to know if you get one-on-one support with the mentorship.
Yes, you get one-on-one support with the mentorship. Yeah, you do. You get 5 weekly coaching calls a week. We break down every single one of your deals. If you need a deal that gets broken down, you break it down with the coach and the call. Everybody's in the room to listen, but you get every single question. Each call is about 90 minutes. There's not one question that doesn't go unanswered. Yeah, well, I don't know if that's going to be forever, but yeah.
So I got another one on YouTube. Some of your teachings are now illegal in the province of Ontario and British Columbia.
Could you be more specific? I don't think anything that I'm teaching is illegal in Canada. I'm actually positive of that. So
yeah, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, but no, great. Yeah, can you be more specific with that? But no, there's the rules in Canada are different, but they can be done. I have students in Canada that invest in Canada, and I have students in Canada that invest in the States.
So we got Kaz asking another question about the mentorship. How can one get funding for flips and rentals with no money and bad credit?
So if you don't have any money, you don't need money. You can use a hard money lender or a private money lender. You don't need money. You do need decent credit. You need like mid 600. So if your credit's not there, you can wholesale and pay a company to raise your credit, or you can partner with somebody. I know a ton of people that have credit score 620. They partner with someone that has a 750 credit score. They do a few deals together. They get their credit score up, and then they either continue that partnership or part ways at that time.
Good stuff. I got one more here on TikTok. What's the best way to find these distressed deals and properties?
So there's a ton of different ways to find these distressed deals and properties. The mentorship has over 30 different ways to do it. But the best ways for brand new investors to find distressed properties is not to, have a marketing budget and go out and spend money. The best ways are to network with other wholesalers and other real estate agents. A wholesaler's job is to spend all day, every day, finding good deals that are distressed and then bringing them to buyers, and you're the buyer. So you just network and get in front of these wholesalers. They'll find the deals and then they'll bring them to you.
I got one more here on YouTube. How long does it normally take from taking your course till I get my first deal on average?
On average, I would say average is probably 90 days or less. I mean, I have students that, I have one student that did it in their first 2 weeks, and then some students have never done it because they don't take action. But I'd say 90 days or less, depending on how much you're going to take action.
Cool.
Cool. Alrighty. Thank you all for being here. We will be live next week at the same time around 2 o'clock Central. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, the Faster Freedom Show on all podcasts.